Hey everyone, and welcome to another Code Contemporary video. My name is Brian Robinson, founder of Code Contemporary. I'm looking to start a new video series where we're going to be doing design critiques for developer and designer websites. So really, any website that you have made is open for this. I'm going to do 5, maybe 6 or 7 minute videos critiquing websites that are submitted to me to take a look at. So if you're interested, I made a post over on dev.to about what I want to do with this series. And so I'm going to post a link down in the description to this, but definitely head on over there, check out what I'm looking to do, and leave a comment in the comment section to let me know if you're interested in getting a design critique. They're perfectly free. The one thing is I'm going to be recording videos of them, so that's really the payment that I get, is I get to have content kind of given to me to work with. So yeah, head on over there if you're interested in a design critique. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that the inspiration for this series comes from my friend James Q. Quick and his YouTube channel, which I'll put an info box up there for, but you can also check out the description down below. He has started to do code reviews with beginners code to help them kind of up their game in terms of development. So it is very, very much along that same vein. I want to make sure that if you're an aspiring designer, that you have a good basis for critiques. And then even if you're not a designer, even if you're a developer that's doing some front end work, I want to make sure that I'm here for you as well. So again, head on over to dev.to. I'll post a link in the description to the exact post, and leave a comment giving me a website or a design mockup of some sort that you want me to review. And it's important for you to know that I am very much I do my best to be nice in these, right? Because really, if I'm mean-spirited in them, they're going to not be, people are not going to be receptive to that advice. So I'm very, very nice. I don't bite. And then I hopefully can give you some actionable items to take away from each review. And then hopefully everyone who's watching gets a lot out of it in terms of some standards that I kind of hold, as well as some other little tips and tricks from the design world to kind of pair with your design work. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the first of the people who submitted on Dev.to. I'm kind of taking this in the order that they came into the comments, and it's a guy named Arturo. And as we come over to it, it's on CodePen right now. It's a very impactful landing screen. We got kind of that full height idea going on, which is always a very impactful way of starting off your page. And then he's putting his name kind of stacked like this, which is a really interesting take on it. I like the styling that he's got around the font, where it's kind of got that really, really harsh shadow behind it. I think that's very interesting. I like that green color. I think it pairs very, very nicely. I like the animation that was coming in. I'm not huge on animation as a whole, but I think it's important that when you're doing a portfolio site of some sort, that you kind of show off all the different aspects of what you can do. One of which would be animation. When we're talking about, it looks like he calls himself a UI styler, so that's pretty important to show off. Now we got some waves coming in across the bottom. I think that's an interesting pairing with that background image. You know, we've got the lake in that background. I'm hoping that's you in that image, Arturo. And so, yeah, I think that's an interesting pairing. If I were to do it, I would maybe separate each of those animation pieces so that it feels a little bit more like a natural wave. Those are kind of overlapping, I think, a little bit too closely. But then also we've got this developer and UI styler area here, right? And this confuses me a little bit. Obviously, I can kind of read into it that is kind of the title that you're looking for. But it feels very, very button-esque, right? It's kind of that rounded corner style for that rectangle. It makes me feel like I should be able to interact with that. And I can as I kind of click on it here, trying to make that work. So my recommendation here would be to probably lengthen this out and make those edges, the corners of that box, maybe no border radius. That's going to make it feel less button style. I like the fact that you're pairing that drop shadow with the drop shadow from your name too. I think that's a nice visual piece. I would just try to make it not seem like a button. That's kind of the main point there. And then in this area, we also have that kind of nice border going around it. It does give me a little bit of a pause here where I get this the scroll bar inside, and I get what you're doing. You're doing that to put this background, this border there, and have it change colors as we're going down. Not a big deal, but it just kind of feels a little awkward in there. And that's because I also have a mouse plugged in that has a scroll wheel, so it is something that the scroll bar is going to come in no matter what at that point. And then I kind of see that we've got this Hire Me button up here. I like that you've got it so it's going to stay with you. I think that's a nice touch. But I would maybe recommend making it bigger, right? You don't really have a call to action up here. Now, somebody might not be ready to hire you just based on the landing screen for your homepage, but you don't really have a call to action of any sort up here other than this tiny one up at the top right corner. So maybe you could bring it down to the bottom, or change your styling on this developer UI styler, and then have a button style that is the Hire Me button in some way, or get in contact, or see what, something to lead the user to their next step. Goal-oriented design is pretty important. And then, that's a nice touch down here to have the translation. That's nice. That's showing off some dev skills, as well as showing that you are bilingual, I assume. So I think that's kind of nice to have there. I like that a lot. As we come down, okay, we have a little parallaxy type thing where we're having the text come in on top. That's nice. I like that the border color has changed, although I can kind of see here on either side that line that bisected your title is coming through in the background a little bit as well. So that might be something that you look at kind of not fixing, but massaging kind of out of there. And then we've got an illustrative style for your avatar. That's nice. And then we've got, a title, your description about yourself. Is this centered? It feels like it might not be fully centered. Let's take a look. Oh, pop me down the page a little bit. You're kind of just centering this area based on that margin. And so what I might end up doing is having this About Me title be a little bit of a bigger font size, and maybe centering it in the entire stripe, and then having your avatar and your description kind of be that full width next to it. And then line up the top edge of your avatar with the top edge of the actual paragraph of text here. I think that's going to give you a little bit of a cleaner set of lines, which is pretty important. And then I might also add a little additional padding top and bottom in this stripe. It feels a little bit tight around that text. I always enjoy like this kind of idea of having emojis. I think emojis are very, very useful in describing some emotions, which is always nice. Coming down, we've got, Skillset. This is a hiring pet peeve of mine, and I was a hiring manager for a few years in the agency that I worked at. I tend not to like seeing percentages in terms of abilities. I would say if you're above what you would consider 40% in a skill set, just list out that skill set. It makes me wonder, all right, what don't you know about JavaScript that makes you say you're only at 70%? Or what don't you know about Android development that says you're only at 65%? So I would say list out the technologies that you're familiar with, that you're proficient with, and that proficiency doesn't have to be perfection, right? So I would just change this, take off those progress bars, because I think that as soon as you reach the point that you consider yourself in all of these already, that you're ready to go, just list it out as one of your main skill set pieces. But overall, the design's nice here. You got a nice little hover state. I like that you're doing the callback to the outlines from above. That's all nice. I would, again, give a little bit more space to this stripe, a little more top and bottom padding. And see, this is kind of what I'm talking about here. This is kind of a centered title, and it doesn't feel quite right to have the About Me not line up with that. I kind of like to have some clean lines going down the page, and some centered text can really help the eye move down the page for that. Coming down, looks like we've got some portfolio section, my work, and then SQL Judge looks like a project that you built. I like this again, add a little bit more spacing top and bottom. Ooh, I like that you've got a little animation for those icons. I might up the size on those icons a little bit. They get lost until they start moving, and at that point it's kind of a distraction. A little bit of text, a link to it, that's all pretty important. I might bring some sort of button style for your links instead of just having the static link, just to call a little more attention to them. But overall, nice, it's clean. I like your big font size. I think the big font size is gonna be important for readability. I like that a lot. However, we come down to this green stripe, and that light gray is going to be pretty rough on accessibility, right? I'm getting a little old. I'm in my mid-30s, and I really struggle to read that says PS4 interface. So I would either go ahead and make that a white font in all these stripes, except for obviously your white stripe in the next one, or change them on a stripe-by-stripe basis to be something that has enough contrast to be readable. Like I said, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not that old yet, and it's a real struggle for me to read that. And just keep in mind your target audience, especially if you're looking to get hired, may be on the slightly older side. But even then, any sort of visual impairment is going to make that text a little problematic. I think an interesting thing in this section also would be to maybe talk about the skills that you use for each one, and maybe have a callback up to the My Abilities section. Maybe just bring the logos in a small size. I think that could be really, really interesting. And then also, I know you kind of got this my work and then this pipe in between up here. The pipe makes me think that something's broken, having it down below. So I'd either remove that pipe from each one of these, or go ahead and have my work over and over again, or have like a title of project or something like that, just to keep that symmetry going down. Or like I said, just get rid of that pipe altogether, and I think you'd be okay. We got a little animated signature. That's nice. That's a nice touch. I'm going to try my best not to get into code too much. So I'm not going to right click on that and be like, oh, is this an SVG? But I like that. I think that was nice looking. Adds a little personal touch to it. And then coming down, we've got a comment section, which I think is a little bit odd at the bottom of a portfolio page. Definitely not bad to like have some sort of, that says comments, what people are saying about me. That's actually a really good instinct to have, as testimonials are an amazing way to either get new business or to get hired. Knowing that you are awesome to work with is really, really important, I think. But leaving it open like this for anyone to comment on, I think that's asking for some trouble. I also think it feels like a weird little bit of interactivity. So I might suggest making this kind of a standard testimonial type stripe, and then having a little bit more control over what you put into it. But overall, I really like the visual styles that are going on in a lot of ways. I think you can benefit from some more vertical spacing, sectioning these out a little bit more. I'd say that all your titles could use to be in some way centered, either centered with their content or centered on the page. I think that could be very, very helpful. I think your headlines also could all use to be a little bit bigger to help visually scan the page a little bit easier. Like I said, I really like the font size you're using for your body text here. I think this is really nice and clean to read. I think your line height is very good, as well as your font size. Again, maybe ditch this idea of the progress bars, but I really like the styling on that. Yeah, overall, I think it's a really, really classy looking portfolio site. One thing to think about is how this is going to scale as you get more projects, because hopefully you're going to be doing development work for a long, long time, right? So as you get more things that you're proud of, you want to put on here, do the stripe scale, or do you need to start thinking about maybe I have a featured project and then maybe a grid of smaller projects? That could work out really nicely as well. I will say I'm hearing my fan kick on pretty hard, and I don't think that's just me doing the screen recording. I do think that it is to do with these waves up here. So I would think about, does that add enough to your portfolio to warrant the possible performance that you're going to give your users on that? I got a decently powerful MacBook Pro. It's from 2018, so it should run this pretty well, but it is definitely taking a little bit of a toll on my computer right now. Yeah, overall, really clean. Like it a lot. I like the illustrative style on that. I think it pairs nicely with the little illustrations you've got down here. Again, you're using some subtle animations throughout, which is nice. Yeah, really, really nice. So, Arturo, I hope that helped you out. I hope that if you're not Arturo, that you've got some additional things that you kind of can take away from this as well. Again, think about your vertical spacing. Think about clean lines going down the page. But overall, yeah, really, really nice. So if you are interested in having your site critiqued in some way by me, head on over. Again, I'll have the link in the description to dev.to and take a look and add your link down to the comment section on this post. And I will get to it. Right now I've got a few ahead, but I'm looking to, like I said, maybe do one of these a week. And so that will be, that'll be a great help to me and hopefully a great help to you. So until then, take a look at some of the other videos on either my YouTube channel or take a look over at my Dev2 profile, depending on where you're viewing this. And we will see you next time around.